And put the marker in. And Random Kids, hit play. All right, I'm going to hit play, Random Kid.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted.
And welcome to Wise and Nerdy, because Morning says our intro is way too long, so we're getting right to the show tonight, people.
Cut that short. That's nice.
And look, there's Joe Art. You've known Joe for a few years now, but a few months ago, I hit my 20th anniversary of doing digital media, and I had my pod daddies come on Be Awesome Together. I had Andy and Randy of Two Guys One Brain, and we talked about that, and then later on through the shows, I talked about Success Freaks. And finally, after I signed the 10-page writer that he sent over and took care of all the demands, my good friend, our Mordant Mon, Ricky Robinson, Raphael Tortuga, if you will.
Hola, señores.
Success
¿Cómo estás,
Freaks.
mis amigos? Hey.
And that was...
yeah.
What was that? That was a new button that Joe has. I don't know what that one was.
That was Devo's site.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Wow. So love that you're here. We're going to be talking all kind of cool stuff tonight. We've already been talking on our Patreon pre-recording, and actually told some stories about weight loss and gym work, and it is a lot of fun. But we get warmed up here live for everybody. It's Random Kid. We got a question of the week to get us warmed up. Now, for a slightly serious moment, Mordant, you've been open about your addiction history. You've had some addiction issues. Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. Like, whoa.
Narcotics addicts,
Right
you don't go near drugs, right?
Yeah,
You probably have to be
over
careful,
20 years
right?
now. Yeah.
Alcoholics, you don't go get alcohol, right? You just don't break that seal. So as a podcast addict coming on and breaking the seal, is this going to get you back into that dark world of
You know what?
shows?
I've learned that, especially with ice cream and Diet Dr. Pepper, once you break the seal from stopping doing those things, it just comes back. The floodgates open, and you're just like bathing in it for a while. So yeah, I'm sure
Well,
I will become.
I don't know, man. Your wife's going to get mad at me for getting your hooked back on
Oh my
digital
God, yeah,
drugs again.
she'll squash that.
Yeah.
She'll squash that. She's like, you don't have time for this. You got time for me.
You know, that could be a good TikTok of you
man.
try to do a show and her shutting you down every time. That'd be fun. But
I have to hide it like it's an addiction, like I'm in the closet. Little microphone. I got it.
But the real question is, truthfully, you're an entrepreneur. The entire time I've known you, you've been an entrepreneur. Joe has a day job, but also he's hustling this. I'm a little of everything. How do you find time for yourself?
Man, for myself, you got to learn to compartmentalize. One of the things I have ADD, so a lot of distractions come my way, and I try to fill my time with stuff. And a good way to not get anything done is to put too many things on your plate. So you need to learn to be able to take certain things off your plate. You need to learn to be able to just, make time for you and tell yourself it's okay. Because especially when you have ADD, you start to feel guilty if you're not doing something. It's like, well, no, sometimes you need to just do for you. One of the things I like to do is I have a couple buddies of mine. One's in North Carolina, one's in Pennsylvania, and we'll play video games together, usually World of Tanks, because it allows us to get together, blow stuff up, but you're not so hyper-focused on the game that you can't talk. So we've really connected, especially over the pandemic. It's almost like therapy sessions. We'll talk about what's going on in our life, what's going on in our jobs. If there's health issues coming up, they both have children, so they'll talk about that. And it's really helped me connect and stay connected to my friends in 15-minute segments because it's, each of the get battles are 15 minutes, and usually, we might last 5. Sometimes we make it all the way to the end, but because you're not like, creeping around in anything, you're just driving your tanks really fast and trying to blow stuff up at a distance. We're able to talk at the same time. And I have stronger friendships with those two guys than I've had with a lot of people. You got to make time for yourself. You got to, just like going to the gym, if you're into that kind of thing for being healthy, it's almost like setting up a meeting with yourself. I have an important meeting with somebody and it's myself. That being said, I have a hard time getting there. Once I'm there, I really am glad for the results. I feel good about myself. So that's what I do.
I have a hard time. I want to hear what Joe has to say before I tell my part of the story, but I definitely have a hard time stopping working on something. Everything I do can become work. Like if I play a video game, I can stream it, yeah. Joe, how do you make time for yourself?
Well, before I say that, I want you to envision in your mind
Picture this.
the most successful person that you can think of, regardless of who that is. You see him in the mirror every day. Oh man,
I am successful.
And so when you envision that person, you probably assume they're pretty busy. They have the same number of hours in a day as we do, and so it's all about finding the time. Like just like Ricky said,
bad dad jokes.
So, but it's true. So if you don't make time for it, it's never going to just happen. Puzzles don't put themselves together. And that's the same way with your schedule. If you don't schedule it, it's not just going to randomly happen.
So I go a slightly different route. Now, interestingly enough, at the conference I was just at last week, I took a class called "So You're a Leader, but Can You Manage?" It's like, well, that sounds good. I'll send you the slides, Mordan. I'll send you the slides. You'll love it. But one of the things he says is you cannot manage time. You can only manage yourself and projects within the time, which kind of goes into what you're saying about they have the same 24 hours as you. I just hate it. Just oversimplifies it. I get it. I know you believe it, and I'm not docking you, but it's like, I don't know. I get aggressive more if you forget,
Well, so we as humans, we waste a lot of time, just in general. And there's always more efficient things that you can do.
Life depends.
You got to also remember that relaxing time is also part of being efficient.
Yeah,
finding time to relax and just let everything just calm down. And so, if you need to. Like I've seen people that are like, oh, you never need to watch TV and stuff like that. No, some people definitely need to watch some TV or have some kind of entertainment to relax and veg, because you can't be going full throttle 24/7. You just can't.
Especially if you're with a partner. With my wife and I, she'll work during the day. I'll work from home, and then at night we'll get together and we'll call it veg out in front of the TV, watching our shows or whatever, or we'll be on our phones next to each other, sharing the Instagrams that we have sent to each other throughout the day. We'll share it. We watch them together too. But that's, that can be considered quantity time. And that's just sometimes as important as quality time. I mean, you can go out and go out on the town and have a dinner and go out a date. I recommend a date night, but you need that time together. And if you, a lot of couples have a hard time because, well, he doesn't want to watch that. We have something that we call my night, your night, my night, your night. So when it's her night, she picks what we can watch, whatever she wants. Now I can go, oh, really? But I got to do it. Same thing on my night. And that way I don't have to feel guilty. Eventually you'll find stuff that you both want to watch. And then, you're having some quantity time together.
I like it. And the vegging out thing, that balance and flow has become the theme of my life over the last couple of years. And for whatever reason, the thing that centers me the most is sitting out in my backyard. We actually moved a year or two ago, more than across the street. So I actually have a nice backyard now, because the house he used to visit in, the newest one didn't. Anyway, all that being said, I got a backyard, and during the summer I actually put a box fan on the fire pit because it's a little too hot. But I love, like, this time of year it's starting to get cooler, and in the spring, but I have a little under $100 projector and a little Bluetooth speaker, and it has to get dark. So while it's getting dark, I like just to sit out there, smoke a cigar, and hang out. But it's alone time, which sometimes I need. But then I'm like, well, now I'm not spending some time with my kids that I'd like to spend some time with. So I try to schedule maybe a movie night with them. Like I sat with the two oldest ones who are now 19 and about to be 18, and they watched Fight Club for the first time a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, that was a good night. But like this weekend, I already told my youngest Zoe's one, the last one we had, but Mordant was there with me. We went to the hospital. Zoe was born, and an hour later, he and I was speaking at an engagement together because we were promoting our conference coming up the following weekend that we had put on with our own money. So it was an interesting life. But she is now 11, and she's growing up so fast. So I was like, hey, we have a anime we watch together, Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. And I was like, hey, this weekend we're gonna put on the projector and we're gonna watch My Hero, and we're gonna play our. We also, at the last conference I went to, I bought some new board games for her and I to play, and we haven't played those in a while. So that's what I do, is just try to not work and multitask. But since I can't not multitask, how about I rest and spend time enjoying people at the same time? Yeah, when I can. So that's how I do it.
And you're right. You do need a break where you, like, if you've peopled all day and you just like, I need a little bit of time to reset, recharge my batteries, and then I can come, back with the family unit.
This is a part of my life that I want to change. And you can go ahead and roll some dice, Joe, because we'll go into the next segment. But what I want to change as he's doing that is, I loved having the free form life. Like when I knew you, I had a bit of a job that I could manage from home and different things. But then I got on the hustle and went through all that and did all the digital media stuff. And now I have a 9 to 5-ish job. But we focus on work Monday through Friday. And I hate that. It's like, okay, it's Friday night. But there's many a Friday night I come out into my yard, leave me alone for an hour. I want to smoke my cigar, drink a little scotch, sit in front of my fan, watch TikTok, and just veg out. And after that, I'll come in and we'll eat dinner, and then we'll people go. I want to get back to that balance of, hey, sometimes there's busy times, sometimes there's slow times, but it's all intermingled.
Well, and you got to remember, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting your what's coming up next. You got to remember, especially if you have a partner who's been watching the kids, they've been peopling all day too. They're little peopling all day, and they need a break. So when you come home and all of a sudden the wife is like you need to watch the kids for a little bit. You need to find some kind of healthy balance where on these nights I'm going to go veg first. Okay. And on these nights I'll watch the kids so you can veg first, so you can, reset, because you have to take into consideration, especially if you're in a relationship, how to balance all that out. Cause they've been doing it. They've been at it all day, especially when they're young kids. So
that's what Uncle Mordant's for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming I don't have children in my home. No, I read a book somewhere that said that.
Right. No, you've been around plenty of people. You've been observant, sir. You know.
He's seen plenty of little people in his life.
One more distraction.
They can be very annoying.
I'll 100% forget. One more distraction. Do you remember what friend of yours named Success Freaks?
No.
Well, he is funny small world. He and I connected through Dragon Con many years ago, told that story together, and now we're like best friends, and he lives here in Atlanta. Mark Gunn of Mars, yes. And I know him because of you, because you used to stay at a house with him on the circuit in New Orleans.
Yeah, in Louisiana. We did the Louisiana Renaissance Festival in Hammond, just north of New Orleans, and there was a family that would it had this big house and a big yard, and they would put a bunch of us entertainers up, and we would all do Thanksgiving together, and the Thanksgiving dinner table would stretch from the dining room out, sometimes past the front door. I think the most we ever had was like 50 some people for a Thanksgiving dinner, and they would wake us up with Thanksgiving oysters that he shucked that day. Man, it was a good time. That was my Thanksgiving, and I will always think of that as my Thanksgiving. Yeah, I loved it. I'm sad that it's no longer. They sold the house, they moved on. They had a life, so
sure. Whatever. Sorry, Joe. We'll get to our show back in a minute. We haven't talked in a while. We got to catch up. But seriously, it was like a Thanksgiving day. I'm at family Thanksgiving, and Ricky texts me. He's like, "Hey, there's this guy here," and he told me the name. And at the time, I didn't remember. Of course, it's Mark Gunn, as we know now. But he's like, "Yeah, he does this podcast thing, something about music. I don't know, but he was listening to our show, and he's like, hey, you guys do this segment called Success Freaks. Why isn't the whole show called Success Freaks?" And we're all like, holy crap, why isn't it called that? And then boom, we took off. And then a few years later, I'm at Dragon Con. He's on a panel like, hey, I think you named my show. And like, oh my God, Raphael Tortuga. And boom, since then. And speaking of old friends and new wives, it's Leah.
What?
Oh, right, hi, Leah. I don't know who you are, but hi.
That is Leah, who was a fan of my part of the show, but a much larger fan of his part since they are now married.
Is she here?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Oh, can you maybe you can't I don't know if you can see the little
I see
universal
it. I
chat, the
see. Oh,
comment.
she's here. Oh, she's making comments. Oh, I'm like, is she
Yeah.
gonna say hi? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just leave. This is a Charles and Ricky show. Oh. Hey, look, I believe it's still out there. I don't remember how many episodes we did. Over 200 episodes, I think, of Success Freaks. He and I did it weekly, and it was some amazing work. I'm very proud of it. There's a joint book that we wrote. But we'll advertise that later. Because I keep distracting us. Joe, Joe, you're Joe. You're Joe. Joe, what'd you roll, man? What did we get on the dice?
Council of Dads.
That's my kid getting it wrong. All right. So, oh, yes, she edited her book. Parliament of Papas here. This is from CaseyJay. Okay, I feel like Casey. This letter is from CaseyJay, who is sitting in Australia listening right now to us. He says this is what he wrote to us, and we're getting around to addressing it, and we definitely want to help out here. I'm terrified that being autistic, I'm ill-equipped to properly support my kids. Like when my daughter hits her teenage years, I'm scared I'll fail her. We'll go ahead and pause right there. All dads of all walks of life are scared of the exact same thing all the time, sir. You're in good company. All right, here Casey says, I remember when she was born trying to find support for autistic parents, but every time I searched, I only got support for parents of autistic children, not parents with autism. Yeah, that's a big one, and that's a tough one. So for the council or the Parliament of Papas, what advice can we give from all our walks of life of how to find help and how to trust yourself as a parent? And Mordant, I know you said I haven't had kids, and you have guided people, you've helped people, you've helped me, you've been around my kids, you've got advice to give on finding yourself.
Well, for I'm not autistic. I am ADHD, neurodivergent, very high functioning. I found a lot of help with there's a YouTube channel called How to ADHD, and she gives advice. She gives some tools that you can work with. She also talks about has some autistic guests on and people that coach both people with ADHD and autism. My thing would be to, there is help out there, and you're going to find it with people who, he said that people who are parents of autistic children, they're the ones who have researched it really. You're also going to find some people who have autism who have gone into the coaching field. So you can find it. You just got to seek it out online, and maybe talking to those parents who seem to have, because of their autistic children, they've already researched all this. You can ask them and find out where they found their information from. So
what he's also looking for, and I think that would help, because if they research it for their kids, they can help you with it. But he's got autism, right, and is the parent, and that's I get where he's finding that. That's probably not I wouldn't say normal. That's a stupid word. Not a statistically big thing that people search for, because I'd say it's probably the other way around.
Well, it's getting more and more into the mainstream. I mean, you're finding out, you can find a lot of ADHD stuff out there, but there's more along with that is autistic people.
I think everybody's on spectrum just a little bit.
Yeah, everybody's on spectrum just a little bit, but now it's becoming more in the mainstream. I've seen TikTok channels, I've seen YouTube channels where people who are talking about their experience, and experience with their partners, if they have experience with their children. So I think that he could find someone out there who has already paved the way, and if not, and if this was his jam, if not, then there's definitely a vacuum for that. There's definitely a space for that and a need for that. Maybe he's the one that's going to be able to help those other people. But
that's
I don't know if that helps him right now.
Yeah. What do you think, Joe?
So my wife is actually, her education is in special education as well as in early childhood education. And one of the things that she had suggested, because her and I actually discussed about this, and I asked what she would suggest. She said playing out scenarios in your mind, different scenarios that could come up with children as they're getting older, and determining ahead of time how you would react. That way you're not shocked. That way you've already played it out in your head and you know what your plan is. Now, plans often go off the rails, so you can't be prepared for everything, and kids will definitely throw all kinds of curveballs at you. But having having run through those scenarios might give you a bit more confidence.
Okay, I get that. That has actually worked for me some in the past. I've come to this realization: while there are definitely bad parents in the world, there are no good parents. There are only parents who did the best they could with what they had at the time. And I mean, I feel like my parents did the best they could with their trauma that they just never dealt with. I did the best I could with my set one, and I had a lot of trauma, and then I dealt with my trauma, at least most of it. You know, sometimes some of it resurfaces, you got to go back to work. And then set two got almost a different dad out of it. And it was the best I could do at the time. And so, Casey, that terrified of failing your kids, man, that's everybody. And
well, not everybody, but bad parents don't care about failing their kids. Okay. So right off the bat, that means Casey is not a bad parent because he's already taking into consideration and worrying about failing his kids. So in my mind, that means he's not a bad kid or bad kid. He's not a bad parent.
Yeah. And that whole idea of telling stories that matter to you, that changed your life, and the people that did it, you know, most of the time it can be parents, you know, but the people that they don't realize, right, what kind of good impact they made. Because you always, my dad, I went to lunch with my dad today, and he likes Pepsi. My sister apparently has gone, as he phrased it, to the dark side and drinks Coke. And like, well, I guess you just didn't raise her right. He goes, well, I fell with you. I fell with her. I was like, no, you didn't fail with me. I'm awesome. I'm a rock god. She's a homebody that drinks Coca-Cola. You failed with her. I'm good though. But that's, man, my firstborn dropped out of school, and it killed me. I mean, there was nothing I could do. And I can look back at some failures I had. You can always look back and go, I should have been harder on him. Maybe I should have pulled him to a line instead of taking the tactic I did. But at the same time, I have a good relationship with him that me and my father didn't have to that level. Right. So,
what's he doing now?
Living in the van down by the river, practically. I'll have to take pictures and send it to you, but we have a mini compound here.
I thought you were going to say he started his own business. He's really doing really well. He's helping us pay the bills. I'm like, that's awesome.
Okay. He is actually helping pay the bills a little bit, his part of the bills. But we actually have a little mini compound. I'm not like, so this is an outdoor studio I'm sitting in, and then next to it, and it's like 16 by 20, I think. Then there's these little barns out here that are 8 foot by 8 foot square for each of the kids to have their own space. And about a year ago, once he started working full time, he just decided, instead of sharing a room with his brother in the air conditioning house, he moved out to the shed out in the backyard that has no power. Well, it's got a drop cord, but no power to air conditioning. But he's got his Xbox and his TV on a drop cord. He's happy.
That's his kingdom.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm like, cool. Without knowing it, you kind of took my path. I took over my parents' enclosed garage and made it my little apartment. But he's working full time. He's got a steady girlfriend, and you know, he's paying his insurance bill and some other little things he's got to do, and he's doing all right. But the point, it is right. He's doing okay, and that's what I had to come to as a father. And Casey, coming back to Casey, this one goes out to the one I love. What Cats in the Cradle. That
song. Come on.
I like chaos just a little bit. All right. It is so bad.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, go look it up. It's great. So catchy song, but listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh my God. But no, Casey, through that moment of him making bad decisions, screwing up at work, just adamantly, I mean, it came down to either he and I could fight and I could threaten to kick him out, or I could just say, I can't force him to go to school. He you know, as I just had to
force him to waste your money.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, no, he dropped out of high school.
Where you paid for what? He dropped out of
high school. Yeah.
No, he was only a few months away, right? Wasn't he only a few months?
Blood pressure, Joe. Blood pressure. Keep me off the
you know,
not reminding me
if he wants to. He get, you know.
Yes, exactly. And that's so I had to give him paths, and one of them was like, okay, if you pick this obvious path you're gonna pick, you got to become an adult now. and that means you're paying rent, you're paying this bill of yours, and you got to keep a job, and the bills don't stop coming. And
if you show him that you're supporting him, then he's going to still keep coming to you and trusting you with stuff.
Yeah, I did have to say that is like, I said I'm gonna treat you like my creator friends. We're close, but like you, Mordant, I love you, but your life is not my life. So if you're doing something like, dude, that is the dumbest thing, don't do it. I'll tell you, and if you do it anyway, okay, I'll be here to help you pick up the pieces. And I didn't feel that with my son until when we dropped out. That transition for me was like, okay, I'll be here to help you, I'll support you, but now it's your life. It's what you can do. And it's now or never. Thank you, random kid. So yeah, I would say it gets better. It gets different. Hopefully the problems you have with the young ones, you'll have different problems as teenagers. And if you just work on communication with them on whatever level you can, and sometimes get the cops to come by and scare them. That's all I can say.
Roll that dice. What are you nerding out about now?
All right, Joe, this is your favorite category. You always have to go first. Go first, sir. Go first.
All right. So I partially picked this because I really liked it, but another motivator was because of our favorite game of guess what the anime is about based on the name. This is an anime called
this is not Legend of Zelda?
Windbreaker.
All right, so here's how the game works. That's all you get. That's the title of the anime, and we have to guess what the anime is about from the title. So Windbreaker is going to be a teenage set of heroes who change politics of a foreign nation by using flags and sails. I don't know. I'm lost on this one. Windbreaker doesn't give me a whole lot to joke about. So
Windbreaker is about I like the teenager. I like teenager from another dimension who appears here in gaseous form and is able to, maybe he ghosts around or whatever, but Windbreaker.
I like it.
See,
like this is why you get paid to be an improv comic, and I'm still doing it for free. Gotcha. All right, Joe. What is this? It's gonna be dumb, isn't it? It's gonna be so dumb.
So it is a bunch of teenagers. You're right on that one. So the main character has decided he wants to go to this school that is infamous for basically the entire school is full of delinquents. And the delinquents basically run the school. And he wants to go there and he wants to basically fight everyone and be the top delinquent. But he comes to find out, and this is in the first episode.
There could be only one. I don't know what.
Kinda. That's kind of what his plan is. But he finds out that his information about the school is slightly out of date. The school has actually the current top delinquent.
He says Windbreaker is about a gang that wears matching nylon coats.
Oh man. The current top delinquent has actually changed how the school operates, and they actually serve as protectors of their neighborhood now from other delinquents. So they're still kind of delinquents because they fight all the time, but they protect the neighborhood and they're respected in the neighborhood. It was actually really good. I liked it quite a bit.
It's the anime about the LA Kings.
Sure. I don't know the reference, but yeah.
Not more than know the reference. So the LA Kings is a street gang in LA that their whole thing is protect the neighborhood. Like you don't go into their neighborhood, and the police actually had a task force to work with them on that instead of trying to fight a gang war.
Are those the guys that wear the berets?
No, I think that's the Angels in New York.
Angels, yeah.
But no, this was a straight street as big in the 80s and 90s. I'm not sure now how it does, but there was a documentary in the late 90s, early 2000s about the LA Street Kings, and it's an honest god gang, but they decided to protect their neighborhood as well as do crimes. I mean, they do crimes, but
Well,
they protect their people. Yeah.
A little Robin Hood-esque.
Yeah. So now this came up. I don't know if I got this. Guardian. Thank you, Hugh. Guardian Angels in New York City. Yeah.
Boom, baby.
And by the way, haven't heard that so long. He also says the production on Success Freaks was awesome. He did a lot of the production on Success Freaks. Yeah.
Thanks, you.
Yeah. The check's still in the mail. Don't worry about it.
Leah says, I edited your book. Thank you, Leah. She did indeed.
The check is also in the mail. Don't worry about it. I am part of the spokesperson team for Dragon Con now. And so I go on the shows to talk officially about Dragon Con. And I went on a show called Surprise Book Attack. And they were actually talking about authors and different things they wanted to meet at Dragon Con at the time it was coming up. And one of them was the author of Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm like, I go to Amazon, like, what is this? Like, oh, and the way they talked about it, I was like, this sounds really cool. Then the guest of the digital media track, Stoner Gump, off of TikTok, came and he wanted to meet the author of Dungeon, who was there at Dragon Con.
Matt Dinneman, I think.
Yeah, that's it, Matt Dinneman. So he wanted to meet Matt Dinneman and get some books autographed. And I was like, wow, that's 2 people. And it sounds awesome. And then You're Nerding Out Tonight is number 3. Tell us about Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Dungeon Crawler Carl, I've been getting into, first of all, I love, instead of reading books, which I do as well, but I love listening to books. I drive across country. It gives me, I'm able to do that. If I have to do menial tasks, it helps me with that. So I really been getting into lit RPG, which is basically somebody from our world into the world, and then suddenly you have a character sheet and you're leveling up your life. Your character is a life. And a buddy of mine from an act called Barely Balanced said, you gotta read this book, Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm like, I don't know, man. They're in a dungeon and they go through it. It doesn't sound expansive enough for me. It's amazing in that there's so many pop references. There's the voice acting that they do is just insane. I think the main guy's named Jeff Hayes. My favorite character is Princess Donut. And it just, if you want to try out an audiobook, I recommend it highly. Just for and so far they're like 6 or 7 books long, and they're getting bigger and bigger as they go. And the story is getting, every time they get into a new book, the dungeon changes. So you're not like, oh, we're doing this again. But to me, it's all about the voice acting and the pop references and the culture references and everything like that. So Dungeon Crawler Carl. Oh, in my experience with it, I was working at the Bristol Renaissance Fair, and this guy walks up with his friends, and one of my teammates pointed it out. I'm like, oh, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and his friends were like, no effing way, because they could not believe that somebody recognized it. He had the get up like he has, and I don't want to describe it because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it was pretty cool.
So how do we get you to be a voice in the audiobook of Carl?
Well, if
you do some really good voice acting.
There was a thing. If I had been able to, if I'd seen it sooner, you could have. He did I think a Kickstarter where you could have had a character for like, I think for $500 you could have been a character that dies. For $1,000 you could have been a character in the book that lives, that he would take something out of your life and put it in there. And I thought that would have been just awesome sauce.
Yeah.
But yeah, voice acting with them would be great. It's just amazing, some of the stuff they do. Yeah. So that's my nerding out for that.
I'm gonna have to try to get this audiobook because
it's on Audible.
Okay, I know how to get audiobooks.
There's no try, do or do not.
I know how it works. It's a matter of time in my life with following podcasts and everything else. I bought a great book called The Art of Peace, and it was written by another guy who translated the works of the master who invented jiu-jitsu, and it's still sitting in my car. I've read like the first chapter because I saw it.
You don't have time for a physical book. That's why I'm saying audio. And if you drive around at all.
Yeah, I drive an hour each way or one way every day to work. But I listen to podcasts at 2x speed. I'm just trying to consume media. I know. Stop that smile. Stop that knowing smile. By the way, everybody who was at Dragon Con or listened to our Dragon Con show, and I talked about, because we did not Wise and Nerdy, but we did a panel called Wait You Haven't Seen, which is another podcast, and we did the movie Borderlands. So I talked about how you drove all the way from whatever state you came from, got to my house, like, you haven't played Borderlands, and we went 45 minutes into town for you to buy me Borderlands to come back, and then I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah.
So, all right.
What'd you think of the movie?
It's all right. I love seeing Pandora. But I would have done some.
It's no Fallout. And I'm not a fan of the game. I tried to like Fallout, and I was like, nah, I don't get it. I love Borderlands, but the TV show Fallout, brilliant TV.
I've heard that. I need to watch it. But Borderlands was directed and written by somebody who was not a fan of the game. You know, the way I see it. So that's the way I saw it. I mean, it was fun, but it was not. Anyway, there
was no character development. It was all about here. Hey, look, here's stuff that's happening. I don't care. I don't care about the characters, and I love the game. So
yeah, 100%. My nerding out about. I got a question first, Joe. I want to know how much Rising Impact paid you and Kelsey for your character acting in that show, because you lied. It is not some mystical golf anime with golden clubs and Knights of the Round Table. No, it is Joe's inner child running around going, I'm going to be the biggest hitter. And then Kelsey, the special ed teacher, comes across and goes, wow, he can really hit. Maybe I could teach him to stop eating burgers. And so I watched like 4 episodes, dude. I see why you like it. It is your inner child as the main character. So I just wondering. But as I went to find that show, I came across The Rising of the Shield Hero on Netflix, and I love it. It hits that itch.
I knew you would.
Yeah, it's that whole gamification of a real world scenario type of thing where you level up and you do different things. And in this specific case, it starts out with the main character that you follow, and he's in a bookstore and he's reading a book, and he's reading the legend of these heroes, the sword hero, the spear hero, the bow hero, and the shield hero. And it's like, wait, the shield hero's page is blank, and all of a sudden it glows and he gets drawn in to this world. And all 4 of those heroes had been summoned, and all of them had played these different video games from their different worlds. That was this world, but he never had. So then it becomes this really interesting twisted story of, all right, well, he's trying to be a part of the team. Is this real? Is it a game? How do I go back home? And he's in the other 3. It'd be like, Morning, you and I jumping into Borderlands, and Joe jumping in with us, and Joe going, I don't know what's going on. And like, no, you got to reload. You got to get all these guns. You're going to do this and that. And it just follows, and it takes this really dark turn of almost like, well, I've been abandoned, and it's really good. It has that aspect of solo leveling and some aspects of My Hero Academia where you're learning some stuff and some innocence and some good connection. And a little bit of Demon Slayer in that aspect of not everybody gets along on the team. Yeah, I really like it.
Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
And the first season is on Netflix.
Okay.
There's 2 more seasons.
You need to get hooked. After that, if you're hooked, you pay for it.
I mean, I'm on Crunchyroll for a reason. And the other one, if you get into anime, dude, check out Solo Leveling. That thing is just very modern. Solo leveling.
So the first season came out this year, and the second season is going to be coming out later this year. And that is a very rapid turnaround for anime, because more often than not, the second season is like 2 or 3 years down the line instead of that. But
yeah. But I knowing your style, the things that you enjoy, I think if you're going to enjoy any anime, it's either going to be the Rising of the Shield Hero or Solo Leveling.
Okay, I can check that out. They're like probably half-hour shows, right?
I think so.
Yeah, the episodes are.
I wouldn't know, because I literally put them on and just binge like 6 or 7 episodes. I have no idea how long they are because I just binge them. Now, you're also learning about one more thing. D&D 2024. What's
D&D 2024? Well, I got 2 things that came in the mail today, and I'm a big fan of D&D Beyond. But today I got the Player's Handbook.
Is that I haven't looked at the artwork. Is that the alternate one, or is that the normal one?
This is probably the normal one.
Okay.
You know, I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I'm holding it up right because I.
Yeah, if you're not sure, that I bet it is the normal one, because
it's probably the normal one. Yeah.
Apparently there was a big to do in the community about how they weren't even going to be able to fill like 15% of the pre-orders on the alternate cover, and the community was up in arms.
No, I don't know. But I've been enjoying playing D&D for a few years with some people on the road. I found a community here in Minnesota that since I've been here, I've been playing with here. I love setting up my characters on D&D Beyond, which is I have almost all the books on D&D Beyond. But I got that in the mail today. The other thing that came in the mail today, just to show the wide difference of everything, is something from AARP. I haven't opened it yet. I have no idea what it is, and so I thought I would just open it and see if I can.
Oh, we're gonna unbox live on the show.
Unbox it live on the show. Should have had my knife with me, and I don't. So, oh my god!
Why you do that? Does Leah like D&D?
She plays.
So
I could not do this if she did not play.
I got you. So yeah, both of you start the Rising of the Shield Hero because it has a lot of D&D aspects that you'll recognize.
I've watched all of. Oh,
wait, why did you get a USB port?
Now I can talk to my grandchildren and I can do the interwebs with them. It's great.
For the podcast, this is 5-port USB charging tower from AARP. That
not even a USB-C.
That's right. It's all USB A's, but it may. It says you're pre-branded.
Branding, baby. Branding.
I'm not gonna lie. It makes me want to sign up. I wouldn't mind getting that randomly.
That's what I got, because I re-signed up for it. I'm that old, yeah. But I was playing D&D since the early 80s, man. 81 is when I started.
Very nice. Yeah. So what edition did you start with then?
I think I started with it was either Dungeons and Dragons or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So right along there. I'm not sure when Advanced actually hit. So it was old school. It wasn't the paper books though, the little thin ones that just came out in the early mid 70s. I wasn't doing it till about 80 or 81.
So guess who Joe got to be on a panel with this year?
Who?
Luke Gygax.
Oh, how was that?
It was good. It was actually a parenting panel. Parenting in the digital age.
Did he talk about how a lot of those spells were because those were his characters?
No, he didn't mention that at all.
Yeah, we knew was it like Melf's acid arrows, and there's all the different names for the different spells are actually characters that Gygax and his son and other people, they were wizards that they played, so they named the spells after them.
Wow,
nice.
That's awesome.
There's some nerding for you.
Roll that dice.
That was deep nerdity right there. I appreciate that. That was good.
A commercial break would be good right now.
All right. So we're going to find some music. Wait. Mordant needs to hear this one.
It's the question of the...
No, it's wrong button.
Let's get paid.
Find some good music here. All right, we'll turn this down. Do I like this one? No. What about? No.
This is like Charles flipping through the radio stations in his car while he's driving.
Like
to work.
when we went to Chicago for 14 hours. Yeah. All right, I'll do that one. All right. Hey, you know what? We're gonna tell. Cut. Let's put it in post. We'll fix this live. It's not live. Don't worry about it. We're gonna fix it. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's fine.
Live. Who would do that? Not us.
If you want to see something awesome that Mordant and I did together, you can go on Amazon and find the Dream Hunter's Guide to Being a Success Freak, and you can buy that today. I think it's still like $5. It's not much. So go check that out. I need to reread it. I was thinking about talking to you about doing a second version. Like
isn't it like a bunch of essays that we did at one time and put them together in book form?
Yep. And Leia
about leveling up your life, how to help others be awesome and success freaking.
Yep. And you can find us. Come join us on patreon.com/wise_and_nerdy and join our patron today. Patronage, be a patron. Come on, join the Scotch to tier level for $13 episode a month, whatever. It's changing a month, by the way. Everything going for the month. Oh, all that being said, we're gonna jam out to a little bit of music for a second. We're gonna zen out, and then we're gonna go back, and you're gonna find out more about where you can find MordantRiki. I hope you enjoyed that at the stoplight. Made it more entertaining. Turn it way up. Have your 94 Dodge Dart doors just vibrate next to your neighbor there. And hey, you want to get your voice on the show? We'd love to have your voice on the show. wiseandnerdy.com/calldad. Leave us a speak pipe. We'd love to hear your voice. So your dad misses you. Give us a call. And before we get really into the rest of the show, Mordant, where can we find the awesome things that you do today?
So today, mostly everything I'm doing is tortugatwins.com, or find Tortuga Twins on Facebook, on I think we have YouTube stuff. We're going to be doing a Patreon, which I'm hoping to talk to Charles about.
You should have your own TikTok channel too.
So, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I got some people I'll show you that's in your circles that you'll get it. But yeah, it's and you can go to successfreaks.com and still hear our stuff there. And
No,
there's
you
a
can't. I
club.
tried going to Success Freaks earlier, and it
won't let you.
A critical error.
Can you go to mordantworld.tv? That's for the videos.
That's good.
If not, I'm gonna have to talk to Nolan.
But also
MordantWorld.tv is just spinning, unfortunately.
if you are in
it redirects to your YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
there
right.
you go. It worked.
And it's all the little videos that he was talking about earlier.
If you go to Minnesota currently, or say it's mid-October,
I've got 2 more weekends at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival.
Mhm.
It is September 19th right now. So, and then after this, I'm going to the Carolina Renaissance Festival, which is just north of Charlotte, for 7
That's
weekends.
a good one. It's a great weather one.
That's a great one to see in the fall. And then Arizona in February, March, where it's still kind of wintry. If you live up north and you want to get out of that, come to Arizona, in the Phoenix area. It's beautiful. Renaissance in the desert, nothing like it.
And there would be nothing that would make me happier for somebody to go up to him at a festival and go, I saw you on Wise and Nerdy. All right, Joe. Our kiddos don't love us tonight. We have no speak pipes, so they're just going to let us wallow.
What we wanted to start doing is announcing the question of the week early, right?
Right.
So on October 10th, that recording, the question will be, what has been the most influential movie of your life? So if you want to give us a speak pipe, you can head on over to wiseandnerdy.com/calldad and let us know what the most influential movie in your life has been.
Look at you doing some professional level stuff. I love it.
I got to bring up the professional level because they ain't coming from you.
Oh.
Sorry,
There's
I got to razz you.
professional and there's professional, and right now Charles is professional.
Oh, yeah, daddy.
what do we got? What'd you roll?
Bad dad joke.
Your
Why?
favorite, Charles?
I don't know, man.
Your
See, I brought in
absolute
ammo. I
favorite.
brought in a partner. He doesn't like it either.
I'm not a fan because I like dad jokes, but I don't know any. So I'm like,
Oh, is that because you're adopted?
You're not wrong, but you're not right.
Oh man, Charles.
That was a bad dad joke.
Sorry.
All right, so this one comes from my wife. Which essential oil do you use to calm people down? Chloroform.
Oh, that does not qualify as a bad dad joke. That's a good bad uncle joke. That's what that is. What? So I got one along those lines. What is a terrorist most afraid of? Dying alone. Oh, he didn't write that one down. Okay,
no, I didn't.
This is the best bad dad joke.
Oh, this is why we don't work together anymore. Oh,
oh, ow. Oh,
Grandpappy said he was ashamed of me.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm deleting notes apparently. I don't know what's going on. All right, what's the next segment?
Thank God.
How do I?
All right. So this is also for our guest. How do we get over? Okay, so Mordant does a live stage show multiple times a day as Raphael Tortuga, and he's done that for a very long time.
Time since 1987. Way back before they had anything. There's no interwebs.
We lived in black and white back then.
We lived in black and white.
And you make it look easy. And I remember just being, well, I'm sure now, but that's the point, right? You didn't start off that great. And I remember being surprised at some point we were starting to do our own stage show. We were doing a Success Freaks motivational conference.
Speaking.
And speaking it. And you're like, I gotta practice. It's like, you do this for a living. Like, no, it's different. And it blew my mind. So I wanted to ask you, well, obviously at some point you're like, I have to get a little drink in me if I'm going to sing karaoke, because everybody sings bad karaoke, but I get nervous about it because I want to sing good karaoke and I'm not gonna.
It's out of your wheelhouse. It's out of your comfort zone.
So how did you get past your stage fright or whatever was stopping you to get what you wanted, to do what you do?
Everything happens in degrees. When the first thing I ever did on a stage, I had to audition, and I was going to play the elf at the Bay Area Renaissance Festival in 1984 in Florida. And he said, go up on the stage and do your elf character. And I did a very animalistic thing, but I was so nervous. And, that was that character. And eventually I would do that with people, because I got hired to do it, and I would do it with customers that would come in. Doing stage work is the same thing. Everything happens in degrees. You get, you work it until it becomes comfortable and becomes normal for you. And now I can stand in front of crowds of 3,000 people or more and be goofy and make them laugh, because it's my comfort zone. I've gotten used to it. It's taken me time to do it. We have 5 different shows that we're working right now. We've written about 7 plus a couple to 2 or 3 theater shows. And anything that's just a little bit out of your wheelhouse. Like for me, I can do a Renaissance Festival show, especially with my guys. I know my guys, when we write in each other's voices. So we know this person's going to say this, so he's probably going to sound like this. But you ask me to speak in front of a crowd, and I haven't done it in a while, I'm going to be really nervous. Also, when we have any kind of downtime, because of my ADD, when it comes time for me to do the shows again, I will find them on YouTube and start watching them and start saying the lines with it, so that I know that I remember, because I know I'm easily distracted, and that because I'm the most distracted on stage, I have to study the most so that it can look natural, it can look easy. The best way for you, if you're going to try to do something and you're like podcasting, I've never done this before, I don't know how to speak in front of people, doing videos. If you see any of the mini video reasons I'm not doing videos right now, because I haven't done it in a while. I haven't exercised those muscles. So I'm nervous about it. I'm not sure what I would say. The first time doing something is not going to be your best time. It's going to be your worst time. Your first time is going to be your worst time. Eventually you're going to grease those muscles. You're going to work those muscles, and it'll be natural. If you do it enough time, we were doing the other side of live and then Success Freaks. And now you're doing this live. And we've talked to other podcasters, like, I can't see how you would do a live show. Well, we do it because we do it. And it's easier for us than having, let's stop, let's redo it, and just have somebody else edit it out. So the best way to be able to get over that stage fright is to do it and continue to do it. Start small. Don't start on a big production of something. You do community theater, do a Renaissance festival where you're just, talking to 3 or 4 people for 5 minutes, and then you walk 20 feet and suddenly you have a new audience to talk to. Try those bits didn't work. Okay, let me change it a little bit so that see if these bits will work over here. Oh, look, that worked a little better. Let me try that a little bit. Whenever a comedian is going to go speak at, I think it was I can't remember who it was, but he was talking about how he was going to speak at Madison Square Gardens and do his comedy show. He would do all these other small gigs, small comedy places, so that he could work out the kinks. So he could try the jokes. Oh, that one didn't work as well. Let me try it this way. Okay, these jokes aren't selling. Let's get rid of this. So by the time he got done and he went all the way to Madison Square Garden, his set was primed and ready to go. And there was like no mistakes. All the jokes were funny because he had time to work it out. Everything happens in degrees. And you just got to be able to put yourself outside of your comfort zone, and that will enable you to do it.
Do you ever go back and watch some of your earlier videos that you're doing for Mordant World TV? Because we were talking pre-show, and I was like, man, they really were. And I just remember specifically there was one, I think it might have been in Atlanta, but you brought your phone on the stage, you kind of step back a little bit, and you had a great backdrop of the sun either coming up or going down, because I can't remember if it was morning or evening. But you're talking about just you're being raw and real and talking about something you're dealing with and learning about yourself, and an exchange I think you didn't really like how you handled it, and this is what you want to learn from it, and it just resonated so well. You go back and look at those to say, maybe I should just fire from the hip some.
Every once in a while, I'll look at that. I'll if I go back, I usually like to listen to Success Freaks, because I'm like, well, is there anything that I'm dealing with now that I need to hear? Something like that.
Yeah.
The videos I haven't, and maybe I should, because it'd be fun to do it every once in a while. I think it would drive my wife crazy. I got to do a video now. Really? It's dinner time. Why? Really? Or maybe she'd love it. I don't know. Carolina. She's letting me know. Carolina is 8 weekends, October 5th to November 24th, Saturday and Sunday.
Go give them some money.
Carolina Renaissance Festival. So. What you need?
I'm sure we have some archives of Success Freaks somewhere. But and see, I'm the opposite. That's where we've always balanced, is you helped me learn how to deliver lines. Like when we gave a speech to headline our own conference, and man, because I'm like, I don't want to practice. I like being in the moment. I like being real. And you're like, no, trust me. Well, one, if we're going to do it together, this is how I have to do it. So get with the program, Sally. Let's go. Level up, Buttercup, I believe is what you were saying.
That's right.
And so we'd be up the studio was over the garage in, so it's almost like a finished attic. And we'd be up there standing and walking, practicing movements and timing it and doing everything. And I went, oh, practice doesn't take no random, kid. It is not. Okay. You don't get to take just random things I say and make them nicknames. So sorry, it distracted me. But I was learning, I can still tell the story. Remember, this is a better refinement. That was a rough part, and I refined. But I can still remember the energy and deliver the line. Because we also, you and I, had to do, I think we were trying to get prepped. We had to do a video for the podcast awards, because we've been nominated for the podcast awards. And we did that over and over. And that again showed me, it's like, this is how, not that I'm on a par with professional comedians who do it for a living. But this is how they do that TV show or that commercial. And it's funny. And you go, oh man, I've never heard that. It's hilarious, but they've probably done it 100 times. And so when we hit the stage, I was sick as a dog. I mean, I had
you were
flu, and I was just pounding Advil. But because we had practiced it, I was able to deliver everything with impact and from my heart, and change it slightly in the moment as needed. And you taught me that. But I think hopefully, I think I broke you out of some of your comfort zone of I was everything live. I was like, well, and screw it, man, just put up a video. Let's talk. Let's go.
It helps the improv if you practice it enough times. They're just getting used to where you're comfortable, and then you can, once you're comfortable, you're not worried about hitting all those marks. Then you can throw in the little bit of improv, and it slides in and out. What you taught me was being able to do a live thing and being able to shoot from the hip, to depend on your partner. like I said before, I was probably in the pre-show that Charles can talk for days.
Yeah.
You give him a topic, you can talk for days. It's not an insult. It's high praise.
He doesn't even need someone else to talk for days. He can just talk to himself for days.
Exactly. And then I feel me, I'm good for about 2 to 3 minute spurts, and then it's time to let something else come in. And he would be like, "You need to talk more." I'm like, "All right, take a breath, and I'll jump in." As soon as we can find that, and we did. We found our balance that way.
Yeah.
So we worked well off each other like that, and I'm sure you guys do as well. I do wish Joe would talk more.
Joe loves the guests. I'm not gonna lie. Joe loves punching me, and he loves the guests.
All right.
But now Joe, though, I'm sure you've had to overcome something that was keeping you back.
I mean, yeah,
Charles.
all kinds. Yeah, Charles is holding me down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff throughout your life that's going to hold you back, whether it's being awkward as a teenager. So many teenagers are held back by their awkwardness, and you find that those that end up in leadership positions are those that push through their awkwardness. At least that's what I found as a teenager. Whether it's awkwardness, whether it's just getting over yourself. I mean, the biggest influence in your life is yourself, and sometimes you just got to stop being your own hindrance. There's so many things in your life that can get in your way, and you just got to run them over.
He is the most aggressive, mean Mormon I have ever met. And he says it with that "welcome to Jesus land" smile. It's like,
and then he runs them over.
Run him over, because God loves them. He wants to meet them right now.
There's a saying that there are no comedians out there with a healthy, happy childhood. I think it was Jim Carrey said comedy is anger. So if you're a lot of the people who do stand up and who go on to have great careers did not have a great childhood or teenage or high school life, and they had to work through that. They had to find the comedy in that. They had to find whatever it is that helped them to deal with that. Some people go on stage and perform. Some people talk in a show and help others. Like that dad we were talking to, he may be paving the way for somebody else once he figures it out. So it's like you're lending a hand to help somebody else along the way. This is how I did it. Now let's get you to a point where you can find out how you can do it. And I think Joe's absolutely right on that. You just find your own way to work through that stuff. And if you're able to make a career out of it, or even just help people, even a side hustle or a hobby that gives you peace, that feeds your soul, then you've done something at the end of the day. Thanks,
you mentioned, yeah, good on you, Joe. See what he doesn't have to talk a lot. He's impactful with the few words that he uses.
Q141 says comedy is a coping mechanism. Absolutely, I agree.
Good old Hugh.
Yep. Was it tragedy plus time is comedy?
Yeah.
Or comedy is tragedy plus time. Yeah.
And you talk about sometimes there's that person in the audience who maybe ask a question or responds. That's what I try to do at any conference or class I'm in. If I find it funny, I don't just giggle under my breath like, "Haha, that's funny." I try to laugh loud, because I know what it's like to be somebody dropping jokes and nobody's laughing. Like these guys, they're not laughing at my jokes. And it's okay. Yeah.
Man, I had days. I'm sorry, I am going to interject. I've had days where Ron and Jeff are the two guys I work with. They play Scaramouche and D'Angelo. So Ron will say something, everybody laugh. Jeff will say something, everybody laugh. I will say something, nothing. And then a few minutes later, nothing. And then I'm like, all right, Ricky, stick to the script. You're not funny today. Don't do it. So yeah, I know what that's like.
But so I try to give that laugh, right? Or as you address a crowd, even when you're playing with the audience, you ask a question, you need somebody to play back a little bit for a minute. And so I try to be, usually for me, it's questions. You ask a question, I'll try to throw out, even if it's a dumb answer, here's an answer, because that silent room is horrible. because you always need that. Joe did that for me. When we did the game show at Southern Fried Gaming Expo, it's a solo one-man show that really is an excuse to work on crowd work and improv work. But it's nice to have a plant in the audience. Yeah, that I know I can be. I know my vicious line with him and how mean I can be with him, because I'm a little. That's my take. As surprising, I know my take is aggressive audience attack comedy, but he was really. I'm playing. I always walk. More to help me here. This is still in the yeah. This is about how to get over stage fright stuff. I don't care how much I've done. I don't care how many times I can get up with a microphone. I get it now. When you said no, doing the Tortuga Twin things, that's different than going on and speaking about what we're speaking about. And I get it a little bit now of. I've done my game show solo I did it with a partner for a while, and things happened, and I had to develop a new project, and it has hit well every time. But I tell you, man, every time I start to walk in a room, like, nobody knows what this is. Nobody's going to show up. I kind of don't want people to show up. It's okay. I'll set up. Oh, well, nobody came. Let's just go home. It's fine. And it filled the room. And even then, I'm like trying to warm up people. I'm thinking, oh, they don't think I'm funny. And so it helped that Joe was there laughing and then because we do this show every week, and they didn't know that, and it wasn't the show, but it's like, oh, we can take some of that show banter there, and it was very, very helpful. So I'm glad I was there for you for the stage stuff, and I'll always be there, for you. And I cannot say it enough. I haven't probably seen your show in a few years now, because I know your paths have taken y'all away from Georgia. But every time I caught the show, no matter how much I worked with Ricky, no matter how much I talked with him, how mad or personal we got with each other, I'm like, listen to the jokes. Now, I can quote some of the jokes from some of the regular shows. The Radar show is all improv pretty much, but the other shows they're all on script. And yet I'm like, oh man, the way you changed the delivery of that line, and it made it so much funnier, man. And it just makes me laugh every time. And you're a consummate performer, and it's
Thanks,
awesome.
sir. And we have a new show too that we're working on the last couple of years, and we're still workshopping it. The Snow White show. So it's a lot of fun.
Can't wait.
And we may be doing a short stint in Georgia next year for their 35th annual, whatever it is.
Okay.
Their 50th. I don't know what it is, but they're bringing back some older people. So,
and there's a second competing. I don't think it's the same people. There's a second competing festival that's starting up in the fall now.
No, it's the same people.
Is it the same people? Okay.
Same. They did that before a few years ago, and I didn't know if that worked or not, but they're trying it again.
Yeah, I just saw commercials. So I don't know. All right, so now we're gonna roll into the story time of the night, and I want to ask you guys. I've recently had to go get a few cars. Yeah, two, not one but two. So there's a bucket list that I didn't know I had. I'll talk about that in a second. But Joe, I want to start with you, man. What is your process when you go? Okay, I don't know if it's I need a car or I want a car. So start there. Do you only buy when you need one, or is it time to upgrade?
We only buy when we need one. And so we figure out what we need from that car. So like our last purchase was our van. And so we started doing research on different vans and what the used market looked like in our area. And then we also determined we had a few different models that we were looking at specifically. And so we searched the used market for those different models to see what we could get. And we also knew what our budget was, and that if they couldn't meet our budget, that we needed to walk away. And so actually with this van, we went to one dealership that had basically this exact same van, and they couldn't meet us where we needed to be met for our budget. And so we walked away, and it ended up being a huge blessing, because the next weekend we found one at a dealership. I think it was like 30 minutes away or an hour away. But it was like $2,000 or $3,000 cheaper. And so it was in budget for us. And it actually ended up having less miles as well than the one we were first looking at. And so it's just knowing your parameters is the best starting point, in my opinion.
How do you set your budget personally?
By looking at how much you can spend each month on the car payment. So we looked at our monthly budget and said, okay, this is how much we can afford in a car payment, and yet keep it under that. So that's what we did.
And Mordant, you said you had a kind of a sad car shopping story.
Well, recently, first I'm going to answer the question that you asked him.
Okay.
I haven't changed my car. I've had my truck for 20 years now.
The Titan, man.
I bought it back in 2004. It's the first year they came out with it. And for whatever reason, that vehicle that year, I've got over 450,000 miles on my truck.
Wow.
And I'm like, and it's not
Nice.
a diesel. And I'm like, oh, I'm impressive. I'm gonna go ahead and tweet this out. And there are people out there who are like 500 and something thousand. So we're out there. So I don't change my vehicle. I don't have a payment. My payment is when something goes wrong, I have to pay for that. That's my payment.
Yeah.
My sad story is that I was opening up a show in Ohio. I have a Renaissance business there, and I had a rental car. And so I was setting up my cart, and they told us not to drive in that area. My wife wants me to buy a new car, and she's saying so in the comments. Anyways, so I parked my car out, and I'm taking care of my car, the cart that I'm setting up, and I see people over by it, and I walk over by it, and this girl has backed up into my vehicle, my parked rental car vehicle, and she didn't see it. She has a big bike rack on the back, and she backed up into this. Now, normally not a sad story. Why would I be troubled with that? Because of course I took their insurance. Of course I've done that every time. Why would I not do that this one time where I did not take their insurance for the rental car? And now I'm getting to experience what that's about. And I've already, somebody suggested, you should call your insurance company because the rental car they hadn't reached out to me yet. So I called them.
But it's her fault.
Huh?
But it was her fault. So
it was her fault. The way it works is that Enterprise is saying, "Hey, Mr. Robinson, you owe this much money," and I went, "Okay."
There's a lot too.
Like, we've talked to the rental company. You have to pay the deductible, and we're going to go after the person who backed into the car. If we're able to get that money, we will reimburse you. If not, you have to pay the deductible. I'm like, okay, I see how that works. The life lesson this has taught me is always take the rental car insurance.
Yeah.
Always. It's the first time I didn't do it. Yeah. And I'm somewhat, it's a life lesson. So that's my sad story.
I'm glad to hear that the Titan's still tightening. I mean, it was fairly new when I met you. I don't remember what year we met, to be honest with you, man. It's bear crawling days.
Paint job and all this stuff, but it's like if you're picking up, I travel across the country, so if you're picking out a vehicle you want to rob, you're going to look at my truck and go, maybe not that one.
It's a great security system.
Yeah.
I personally tend to buy a car. I like to flip my cars about 100,000 miles. I drive a lot. I like the upgrades. I like the newest stuff. I like to be comfortable because I feel like I live in my vehicle as much as I live in my house. And so that's usually my standard. Currently, my car is on 164,000 miles because I bought a motorcycle instead. And so I'm actually trying to sell my motorcycle now. So if you'd like a great Indian motorcycle, hit me up.
What's selling for?
Well, I'm selling it to get rid of the payment. That's why. No, it's a 2016 Indian Chief Dark Horse. And it's got blood red seats with everything else blacked out. It's a beautiful bike. I love it. I just want it as a toy and not as something I'm paying a car payment on. Yeah. And so right now I'm asking $13,000 for it, but we'll see. It's on Cycle Trader. You can hit me up.
So if you hit this new Patreon level,
yeah,
for $13,000 a month, you can have Charles's motorcycle.
Hey, no, I'll make it just over my payment at $450 a month. I can keep my motorcycle, and you can just watch me ride. Cool, thanks. All
right. We will personally send you a video.
So, right before DragonCon, my wife, her minivan check engine light came on, and we have one of those code readers, so we read the code, and it said transmission. We didn't worry about it. It's a Dodge, and Dodge have crappy transmissions apparently because we bought it. It's a 2015. We bought it in I think 2018, and in like 2020, or 2021, somewhere right in there, we had to rebuild the transmission. And we were really pissed then, but we had the savings and we took care of it and we rebuilt the transmission and got a warranty on it. Warranty ran out about 5 months before the check engine light came on, and they want to rebuild the transmission again. And we're like, no, this is ridiculous. So it became an issue of we need to get a vehicle. Yeah. And I just paid off my car. But that only freed up $200 because that's the other thing. We buy smart. My car payment was $200 a month. It was stupid low. And so it didn't really free up a lot of money in this market. And so we started looking and planning. And part of it is Erin does use her vehicle to drive Lyft. And so I was like, okay, she still wanted another minivan to drive the XL. Well, we couldn't find minivans in the range like you're talking about, Joe. It's interesting. You go to a haggle place. We tried that 2 go rounds ago of cars. So before this one, because I was like, okay, I'm not afraid. I know, like you're talking about, Joe, I know what my budget is. I know what we want to pay for stuff. And we actually had a Dodge van at that point for about a week and found out how shady some of these car places can be. And because I was like, wait, there's no percentage on my interest rate. There's no interest rate on my percentages or whatever. Oh no, that's just we'll let that in. We've got your deal. It's going to be $250 a month. You're fine. We got you. Like, okay, but that doesn't seem right. Well, it wasn't because they hadn't locked in the deal and they couldn't get the financing for what they promised us, and so we had to take the van back. Then we spent a day going to other dealerships in a certain area and doing the haggle thing, and just got bad treatment everywhere. Of waiting forever, no answers, bad deals. Whatever. We went back to CarMax. And I'm telling you, Wise and Nerdy can be sponsored by CarMax anytime they want, because I will do a live commercial for you. Because I'm not only the president of the hair club, I'm a member too. With CarMax, that day we left all the mess, went over there, and within 30 minutes had found the right vehicle at the right price. And then at that time you had to run everything slowly over the internet. So it took another couple hours to get the deal done with the pricing, whatever. So that's what we do now. We just go to CarMax. We look, I do try to shop around a little bit, but honestly, no haggle price. I know I can see what I'm going to pay per month, which is my more important thing. Yeah. Is how much I'm paying per month right now. Ultimately, it will be the value of the car. That's where I want my life to get to is, I want to work this deal. Like, I don't know how you work your deal, Morton, but I'm watching some TikTok videos of on new vehicles. You can work some really good deals with incentives and rebates and all this other stuff. And like, cool. Yeah, you're paying top dollar. Holy crap, man. 450,000 miles. I think you got every penny out of that top dollar you might have spent on that truck. And then some. But we ended up doing the searching, found some vehicles in range that she wanted, went to go test drive them, didn't like the one she found, and ended up finding a slightly more expensive upgraded vehicle that was newer, had less mileages, and it bumped her from the XL to Comfort Plus, which is like the top tier of Lyft that you can drive. And so that even helped out. And I was like, I love toys. I love seat heaters and Bluetooth and nice big screen and backup cameras and all that. She's getting used to it now. She likes it. Then, so that was right after Dragon Con. We bought it the Friday after Dragon Con, and cool, done. We know how we're going to pay for it, because my $200 for my car can go to that. If I can sell my bike, I can cover the whole thing and then some. But she's going to work, which is part of the deal. Is like, you like the kids. If you're working, you're paying. You got to do something here, help out. It really jacked up our insurance. I'll get to that. But our process is knowing roughly where we want to land our monthly payments, and then just searching for weeks online to then narrow it down to 2 or 3 cars, and then we go typically like this CarMax. We go there and we'll buy it. So we bought on Friday. Saturday, a week later, my daughter's having battery issues, and long story short, her car dies in the middle of the road, and I got to show off for her, which is I loved, because she doesn't understand how neutral works, and that's okay. But I was like, put it in neutral, and I'll push. She's like, it won't move. I'm like, just trust me, it'll move. And I'm like, I might really have to push. I start pushing. It's like Grape Ape. It's like, do I could jump on top of it, but then traffic wasn't stopping. So it's like she's watching me in the rear view while trying to guide the car over. I'm pushing with one hand, the other hand. I'm like, stop. butt faces. I didn't say butt faces, but I'm like, yeah. She's like, that's my dad. Anyway, so we did the same thing. That night we went and looked at CarMax, looked at a couple of different ones, knew exactly what she could afford because she's going to have to pay it with her job, but we knew her budget, what she could afford. Within 24 hours, we'd gone and gotten her a little sporty car that she likes. It's a little compact. It's kind of a SUV, but it looks like a sports car almost. She loves it. It's a Veloster, a Hyundai Veloster. It's a fun little thing.
Nice.
Done and dusted. And don't overthink it, right? Because I think I get into analysis paralysis, but definitely, Joe, like you said, have a budget because it is way too easy to go, I think I could work that out. I could stretch my money. I was like, no.
That's something you got to figure out before you go shopping.
Because I don't know. If somebody can tell me how, I'd love to hear it for how do I. We'll do a speak pipe. How do I check my insurance rates before I buy a car? Because that was the one thing we didn't know how to do. I still today don't know how to do it. So we bought the car that fit everything that we needed and fit the life. Erin, when she drove it, because we drove 2 or 3 cars, and when she drove this, she goes, is it weird to say that this one's mine? Like it feels like this one's mine. It's like, no, that's why you drive cars.
I'd assume you could call your insurance company and they can run the figures for you if you talk to your agent and say, hey, we're getting rid of this car.
Maybe.
This is what we're looking at. Can you run the numbers for me?
You know what? They might could do that. I know if you do it online, you need a VIN number, but I didn't think about calling a human. I mean, this is a post-COVID world. Who deals with humans anymore?
Yeah.
So
you know that thing in your pocket? It's not just for playing video games. You can actually put numbers into it.
There's an app that's green with a white symbol. It looks like an old-timey phone, but I don't know what it is. But so we learned the hard way. Well, we were coming on renewal anyway. It's all perfect timing. And Mordant, I think you and I discussed many times on Success Freaks, humans don't move until they have to move.
Yep.
And so while we knew our insurance was going up because, well, our kids are older teenagers now, which helps. Every year that they get older helps drop the rate down until they get to 25. Then it's pretty much just based on your driving history at that. They've had a few incidences, but they're getting away from those as well. So that's falling up. But our insurance went up. Guys, $8,000 for 6 months is what Progressive quoted us. Yeah.
Wow.
4 drivers, 4 cars. But yeah.
Okay.
And we're like, that's still a lot though. Yeah. You're thinking about your own insurance and you did the math real quick. Oh no, that's still a lot of it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's we want you to go away money. It was going to be like almost $2,000 a month. Actually, a little over $2,000 a month, right? Yeah, 2, 4, 6, whatever. It's 6 months, maybe a little less than $2,000. I don't remember. It was a lot. That's all I'm saying. But it made me, especially after we had to add her, to went up even more with this newer car. I was like, let me just see what's out there. And sure enough, man, I saw some text messages come through. My wife's handling Geico right now, where it went from being an almost $2,000 payment a month if we go that way, because $8,000 was the 6-month payoff, by the way. It's more. It's like almost $1,500 more if we do it every month instead. So Geico was like, well, with everything that we see, if you pay by the month, it's $1,000 a month. I'm like, por qué? I think you meant like $1,000 per car per month. What? Nope. And so, like, not only did we get good, reliable vehicles that my family can be safe in and be happy in and have fun in, we got a better price on insurance. And I'm still trying to sell the motorcycle. Unless you want to join the $450 tier, and I will send you a personal video when I ride. But with that, it is time to go to bed, kiddos. And we're going to take this car home. Good night, so long.
You got my cheese whiz, boy.
So, one more time, where can we find your socials, Mr. Mordant?
Look for anything Tortuga Twins is out there. Anything MordantRiki. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. Careful, I lean a little left. If you don't like that, then you've been warned.
I think lean is appropriate.
Yeah.
I
like all kinds of people.
Joe, where's your link tree pointing at?
Linktree /Joseph_Hard. It links well, back to Wise and Nerdy.
One of these days, it'll do Wise and Nerdy and other things that you're working on. I know. Hey, next week, come on back in. Get your speak pipes ready. The question of the week is, what has been the most influential movie of your life? We're going to hang out with Patreon after this.
Follow these nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
And video by Kurt sometimes, somewhere.
I should have called in sick.
You did.
He did.
and before we cut off the podcast, if Grobonite 223 gets us a CarMax sponsorship, 10% for the link to the sponsorship.
She was writing that down.
Oh,
Bye.
yeah.
Bye. Let me say goodbye to my wife. Bye, Lee. I love you. Bye. I love you.